I'm Jennifer Sanasi. You're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by acclaimed author Charles van Onselen. He's just released his new thriller, Showdown at the Red Lion, and he's joining me in studio to tell us about that. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now tell me about Showdown at the Red Lion. First, I want to talk about the research that went into this book. When did you start researching this book?
About 5 or 6 years ago. And it's part of a whole series of books in terms of historical inquiry. So I actually stole bits of research from earlier books and then focused on this one for about 5 years.
During those 5 years, do you know what the end goal is, or does it change as the years go by, as you discover more information?
In this way, in this one actually, Jennifer, what happens is I started at the end in the sense that I came across a court transcript which said that the man was sentenced to death. And so I knew what the end point was, and he knew what the end point was. We were just never going to get the chance to discuss it, him and I. So yes, I knew I wanted to write the life story of a man who was executed.
Now this man, Jack McLaughlin, tell us about him.
Right, well he comes from an underprivileged Irish background, born in Manchester. So he's raised in England in the heart of the Industrial Revolution, but he's born with into an Irish family, so he has an Irish identity. And he comes from an underprivileged background and gets into crime as a very young man, but then moves through the Southern Hemisphere and through the British colonial labour markets, and he's in Australia and New Zealand and in South Africa eventually, where the showdown occurs in Johannesburg.
Now tell me about what was going through your mind when you first read those court documents. What did you think of this character?
Well, I thought he was an intriguing person from the first time that I read the transcript, because he was mysterious. There were talks of him having been in India. There were talks of him being in New Zealand and Australia. So the first thoughts are really thoughts of curiosity. Here's a man who finds himself in Johannesburg in 1909. He's in an extreme situation in the sense that he's appearing before the Chief Justice, charged with murder, and yet he's got such a complex background. So the first sets of questions are, who is this man? How did he get here? Why is he doing this sort of things, and why is there going to be this tragic end to his life?
Now we discover that in the book, but was there anything that you learned while you were doing your research that really surprised you about him?
Yes, I suppose there are all sorts of things that surprise you, but one of the amazing things about this man is in the early 1890s, he gets arrested by the Boer government and gets put in a prison in Potchefstroom, a small rural Western Transvaal town, and tries to escape and has his arm shot off for his trouble. So they amputate his arm, and what was amazing, for me at least, was they then, because he goes to Johannesburg, which is a mining town, he bought a prosthesis, and he had an artificial arm, in which the newspapers, being the source of all reliable truth and utterly objective, as one would expect, described as having a mechanical hand which could open and close and hold a dagger. Wow. And it just struck me, geez, we're in the 1890s. It's true it's a mining town where lots of people lose limbs, but here he's got a very sophisticated prosthesis. And of course the answer to that question is artificial limbs really get developed on a commercial wholesale basis after the American Civil War, where the ammunition is so terrible that it causes amputations of legs and arms. And so in that way, I was surprised and intrigued that here was this one-armed man. And then what really intrigued me is he used to be a safe lifter and safe blaster. In order to lift a safe, you need several men and you need two arms. You can't be a one-armed safe lifter any more than you can really be a one-armed pianist. You could probably do some of it, but probably do the job only half as well as anybody else, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly half as well. Now, you are the author. What do you want us to learn from Jack? What should we take away from this book?
What I want you to learn from it, I want you to say that all history has processes which affect a large number of people in different places and in different times and in different ways. But in the end, your experience is unique. It's peculiar to you. Because no matter if the same things are happening to you as they're happening to your sister, you have an individual personality. You present yourself in a very particular way. You've been educated in a very particular way, and you express your emotions in a very particular way. And the magic of history is finding how the individual relates to the group, and how the group relate to the class, and how the class relate to the nationality, and how the nationality relates to the broader history of a country. There's the magic. So what do I want you to take away? I want you to say this is absolute magic in terms of understanding one man and his predicament. And I went in with one set of ideas about what a murderer is like, and I emerged with a completely different one. The story is far more complex than it would seem.
You can get Charles van Onselen's Showdown at the Red Lion at all good bookstores and online. And if you've read the book already, let us know what you thought in the comments section below this video.